Right guys, welcome back. So in the last video we saw how to create a controller to handle our logic in our application, and in this video we are going to see how to interact with the database and actually save a message that is sent by the user. Okay, so we're going to create a new database, configure it in our env file. We're going to create a new model. We're going to see what are migrations and run migrations, and of course we're going to save the message sent by the user, and finally we're going to add a message so the user knows that the message was sent successfully. Okay, so first of all, we're going to create a new database using phpMyAdmin. I think I have to run XAMPP. Let's see. Here, Control P. Great. Okay, so I'm going to create a new database. I'm going to call it basic website. Great. So that's one thing less to do. And now I have to configure it in our env file. I'm going to our project env. So we have our database connection, and the database name is basic website. Okay, so this should work, and we have to check this out. Okay, so as we saw, a model is an entity that represents a table on the database. Okay, so now we have to create a new table called messages. So in this way we can save the messages sent by the user or the users. So I'm going to open a new console, and we're going to use the php artisan command in this way, make model, and I'm going to call it message. This should be singular, and if I add the M option, it will create a migration file, which we are going to see in the next few seconds. Okay, so this created our model and a migrations file. We can see our model in app message. Okay, I always like to create a new folder called models and just put this in here. Okay, so take a look at this, because this is not namespace app but app models. Okay, this is very important. So as you can see, this uses Illuminate, which is Laravel, database component, Eloquent, and model, and this extends a model. Okay, great. So we created a new model, and here we can see the migrations in database migrations. You can see the Laravel structure is really simple and intuitive. And here we have our migration file. Okay, great. So what are migration? What is actually a migration? Let's take a look at Laravel page. and let's see what it says. Migrations are like version control for your database, allowing your team or you to easily modify and share the application's database schema. Okay? Migrations are typically paired with Laravel's schema builder to easily build your application's database schema. If you have ever had to tell a teammate to manually add a column to their local database schema, you face the problem that database migrations solve. So we have the schema facade that provides database agnostic support for creating and manipulating tables across all of Laravel's supported database systems. So the main thing here is that we have a migration file, in this case create messages table, and we have the date of creation here, and we have two main methods, up and down. And this is using the schema facade, which is included here. Okay? So as you can see, the down function just checks if the messages table exists and drops it. So it deletes it. Okay? And for the up function, we have to create our table with the columns and its types, etc. Okay, so I'm going to check this out, and we're going to edit the message migration file so we can create our table, because we don't have any table yet in this database. So as you can see, Laravel comes with users, migration, and password resets table. This comes by default, and it creates, for example, a new table called users, which will have an ID field, a string, which is going to be a name, an email, which should be unique, a timestamp, password, and remember token field, and timestamps. This creates two fields in our table. One which is created at, and another one which is going to be updated at. So you can have a log, or you can know when it was created or modified, that element in the table. So for the down method, it's the same thing. And we have our passwords reset table, which has an email and a token and a created at column. So I'm going to close this, and we need to create our messages table. So if we go to our view, as we saw on the last video, we have 4 fields: name, email, subject, and message. Okay. So here we have to create a new string called name, and yes, we have a string called email, email. Then we will have the subject, and finally we will have the text message. We don't want this to be a string, but a longer text. So I'm going to grab, let's return to Laravel page and check the column types. For example, you have, for example, a text column or long text. Okay, so I'm going to use text for this. And this is going to be the message, if I remember correctly. Name message, yes. Okay, we're going to save this, and here we have our table. So now it's time to run the migrations. Let's see how to run our migrations. Running migrations. So to run all of your outstanding migration, execute the migrate artisan command, which is php artisan migrate. So let's do that and let's see what happens. php artisan migrate. So it migrated all of our migrations file correctly. So this should create 3 tables. In this case, we have 4 because Laravel create one for its own migration check. So if we enter here, we're going to see that the 3 migration files were run. And here we have our users table, our password resets table, and of course our messages table, which has an ID, a name, an email, subject, message, and the timestamps. So this is pretty simple. And now you have something like a version control for your database, and it's really much easier to share your database structure when you are developing a new application. Great. So let's see what we have left on our list. We have checked the recently created tables, and now it's time to pass data to the model and save it. So this means that we're going to grab the information that comes from the contact form and actually save it to the messages table, which is empty right now. Great, so let's do that. I'm going to close this. And let's remember that in our contact form, when you click on submit, we redirect our flow to this route, contact form submit. So if we see this route, this calls contact controller submit. Okay, so we should go to controllers, contact controller, submit function. Now we have to retrieve the parameters from the form, which are in request variable, and save it to our message table /model. Okay. So this is really simple using Eloquent. I'm going to create a new variable that's called message. And we're going to use the message model. So new message. Okay. As we are using a message model, we should include it here. Use app models message. And now we can save or store our data in a very simple way, because we can call message name, and here we'll have request input name. And is the same thing for the other fields, like email, subject, and message. These two columns are filled automatically. So I'm going to copy and paste this. And here we have email, subject, and message, and subject. And now we should actually save the model to the database with the save function. Great, so do you understand this? If you do, now we have to, for example, redirect our user to the home page. So for this, we are going to use the return directive, and let's see how to redirect to one of our named routes. So let's look for Laravel redirect. Redirecting to named routes. When you call the redirect helper with no parameters, an instance of Illuminate routing redirector is returned, allowing you to call any method on the redirector instance. For example, generate a redirect response to a named route. You may use the route method. So we have return, redirect, route, and the name of the route. Let's copy this. And I want to redirect to our home route, which is called home. So let's replace this. And now we should be ready to go. Let's try this out and see if it works. We have an empty table. Let's go to contact, and I'm going to use John Doe. Great, let's submit this. And unknown database Laravel, this is because we didn't clear the cache. So let's type php artisan config cache. Let's try this again. And we've been redirected to our home page. So basically this means that this worked. So let's see it on the database. And now we have John Doe, subject, and message. Okay, so this worked successfully. We have a created at and updated at date. Okay, let's see our list. We have passed data to the model and save it, redirect to home page, have tested it, and now, of course, we can add a flash message to let the user know that everything went okay. So let's see in the Laravel page, for example, redirecting with flashed session data. Redirecting to a new URL and flashing data to the session are usually done at the same time. Typically, this is done after successfully performing an action when you flash a success message to the session. For convenience, you may create a redirect response instance and flash data to the session in a single fluent method change. So here we have our return redirect, and we should add the with directive with our session message. Like this. And I'm going to change this to success. And after the user is redirect, you may display the flashed message from the session, for example, using blade. Like this. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to change this message. For example, message successfully sent. Thank you. And we should add this to our home page because we are redirecting to our home page. So for example, we can add it here. And let's see if this works. Let's try this again. I'm going to put jana@doe.com. Subject to message to. Submit. And is not working. Let's see why. Success. I think the problem is this. Session success. And session success. Okay, let's try this again. As you can see, we have here our two messages. And let's try for a third one. Third name. Third@name.com. Subject 3. Message 3. Submit. And now we have our message. Great. I would like to do one more thing before we end this video. And this is, we have a alert to show a message here. And in the last video, we saw that we can show the validation errors with another alert. So maybe we can add this to the home page, sorry, the template, our template. For example, inside of the container after the showcase, here, I'm going to include inc messages. And let's create a new file here called messages.blade.php. So here we have our errors and our success message as well. So let's see if this works. Contact, submit. Great, we have our validation errors. And let's try another one. I'm going to put my name. And here we have our message. Actually, this looks better than up here. So now we have a new message blade file and we have included it into our template. So this is much more clean and organized. I hope you understood it. And that's it. Great. On our next lecture, the last lecture, we're going to see how to pull data from the DB to actually retrieve the messages that are saved here in the database. Now I have 4 messages. Okay guys, I see you in the next lecture then, and thank you very much for watching.